Welcome to the CSA Idea Lab, all about beyond produce CSAs. We're really excited that you're here. There are 4 great speakers who have some really exciting, innovative CSA models that they're going to be sharing with you today. I think our plan is to introduce you a little bit to the CSA Innovation Network first, and then let each of the speakers introduce themselves, go through their presentation, and afterwards we'll have plenty of time for some robust conversation. Wonderful. So I went over this a little bit, but this is our program and process for today. So we'll introduce you to the CSA Innovation Network if you're unfamiliar with the work of that organization, and then we'll have presentations from our 4 speakers with some discussion and closing. Next slide, please. All right, so what is the CSA Innovation Network? The CSA Innovation Network is a national community of farmers. It's a group of organizations that are supporting CSA farmers, all with the focus of elevating the CSA model and strengthening that nationwide. So it's a community of practice to share ideas, share resources, and the website is a really great space where a lot of resources about CSA are housed, like the CSA Innovation Labs. Next slide, please. So there are a lot of great organizations across the entire country that participate in the CSA Innovation Network. You can see their logos here on this slide. If you're interested in learning more about each of the organizations, there are little bios on the CSA Innovation Network website with links to each of those organizations. But like I said, this is a collective, a collaborative effort of groups from around the entire country, all with a focus on supporting CSA models and connecting consumers to CSAs. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So one of the most recent resources that the CSA Innovation Network has collaborated on is pulling together this resource on e-commerce models specifically for CSA farms. So this is available on the CSA Innovation Network website for you to download. It's a really valuable resource to compare and contrast different models that you might be thinking about for your CSA farm and how other folks have utilized them for their CSAs. And I think Lived also dropped the link in the chat. So if you want the direct access to that, you can click on that link as well. Next slide, please. Awesome. And this is, I should say, an update of a report that was put out, I think it was in 2020, the first one came out. So there's a few new platforms that have been added. And what I think is really cool about this report is it includes ratings from farmers who have actually utilized the platform. So you can see how fellow producers rate these tools in terms of ease of use, in terms of functionality. So it's a really valuable resource in that sense. Next slide, please. Awesome. So with that, now that you know a little bit about CSA Innovation Network, we'll pass it off to our first presenter, Sharon, to introduce yourself and tell us about your CSA model.
Hi, everybody. I am Sharon Mosey. I am a city chick turned farmer. We have a farm in Winchester, Virginia, about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Washington, D.C. So we have a really great and diverse demographic group of people. We have people closer to the city who really understand our business and sustainable farming. And then we have a lot of local customers who want to support local. So with that, if you want to go ahead to the next slide. We run a meat CSA. We do only meat. We have some add-on products that are not meat, and I'll talk about those. But we were one of the first farms in our area to work with just a meat CSA. And it took some education. People were familiar with vegetable CSAs, but they really didn't understand the whole concept of meat as a CSA. So for our CSA, we sell beef, pork, chicken, and Cornish hens. That is our basic offering. You can choose, do you want all beef? Do you want a small or a large pork share? Do you want a beef and chicken combination? And with that, we'll do 1 month you'll get 2 whole chickens, and 1 month you'll get
Yes, okay, so it looks like maybe Sharon is experiencing some technical difficulties and she may have just, okay, so you can hear us. I'm wondering if we move on to the next speaker, yeah, which I believe Adrian is you. Adrian, are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
Great.
Oh, if I get my video on. There we go. So my name's Adrian Gammy. I run a specialty cut flower farm in Dexter, Michigan, which is about 45 minutes to an hour west of Detroit. So southeastern Michigan. My farm is, it's small. I have about a half an acre of really dense production. And that is a whole lot of flowers. I am, for the most part, no-till. I'm establishing a new farm this year. So transitioning a conventional field to a no-till field and growing a lot of flowers. I picked my first bucket of flowers today. So we can move on to the next slide. And a little bit more about my business. So my business, CSA, my CSA subscription program is a really important component, but it's one component of a more multifaceted business. About probably 65% of my business is wholesale direct to florists. So the kinds of flowers I grow are the kinds of things that florists use. And that's the bulk of my business. I would say weddings and events are about 25% of my business. And then the subscriptions are probably about 10%. And this really has grown to be a really important component, especially with, like a lot of farms getting through the winter months. I wouldn't be able to get through it without selling memberships to my subscription. And it's a really nice way, because I do so much wholesale, I don't do a farmer's market or anything. It's a really nice way to connect with people directly. And it was really definitely born out of, or grew out of the pandemic, when all of a sudden weddings and events evaporated overnight and did not happen. But people were really yearning for this connection to nature. As people were locked down at home, they really found a lot of comfort in flowers. And so us flower farmers, we like to say that, food feeds the body, but flowers feed the soul. So that, especially during the pandemic, shed a lot of light on how important that is, and is a role that I'm really, really happy that my farm can play. So there are a million different shapes that a flower CSA can take. And the way I've kind of narrowed mine down is I offer 3 separate subscriptions that run for 1 month each, one in the springtime, one in the summer, and a dahlia one that runs the month of September. And I've kind of siloed it this way just because it is one component of a very multifaceted business, and it keeps it more focused for me. So that way I can focus on all the other things that my farm needs to do as well. And it keeps it contained. I tell people, I'm very honest, I've had people say, oh, you know what, I'm on vacation the 3rd week of July. Could I pick up a bouquet the 1st week of August? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I can't do that. I will forget your 1 bouquet the 1st week of August. Why don't you have a friend or a family member pick it up and share your CSA with a loved one in that way? I would love to be able to accommodate, everybody's wishes with this, but I've had to really kind of put some hard parameters around it so that it's manageable for me. And that's something that I have learned with a CSA is really important, is whatever shape it takes, it needs to work for you and your farm and how you and your farm work. And so that can look like a lot of different things. And like I said, for me, this is kind of how I break mine out. So we could go to the next slide. I can dig into a couple of the minutia of what I have found works. Choose one way to deliver your flowers, either buckets or bouquets. I have tried buckets and I thought, oh gosh, it would be a great idea if somebody's, having a party or something and they want to do the flowers themselves, or for flower enthusiasts who like to play with flowers themselves. It didn't really catch on. I may not have communicated it clear enough. People seem to be kind of confused by it. And that's not to say that it doesn't work. But I have decided a pre-made market style bouquet, similar to what, you would find at a farmer's market. Just choose one and then deliver it consistently. I know a lot of, some of my florists even have started similar subscription programs, and they'll have it where it delivers monthly or over from April through October, or it delivers bi-weekly, or, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But again, I had to put some parameters around it so that I could keep it straight, because it's really challenging to keep track of, well, this person gets one every other week and this person gets it once a month. So deliver consistent so you can remember, and your customers, because there's nothing worse than, putting together all of these and somebody doesn't come pick up their bouquet and you have wasted flowers. So something that's easy for everybody. And another thing, kind of in conjunction with that, is to price it accurately. It's really easy. A lot of people grow flowers as a value add. So they kind of view flowers as just bonus. This is bringing in extra dollars to my business. But it's really important to price it accurately and not undersell yourself and not undersell other flower growers, and to also take that opportunity to help educate customers. It would be really hard for me to put together a bouquet that I could sell for $10 and come anywhere close to making a profitable margin off of it. So price accurately. Don't sell yourself short. Sell your value, know your value, and price it accordingly. Delivery is something in the flower world. People are really used to calling up somebody and having flowers delivered. So that's something that kind of might be unique to flowers. And you absolutely can offer that if that makes sense for you and your business and your customers. I have a couple of drop-off locations. I have one that's in a residential neighborhood and one that is downtown, in town in Ann Arbor, that is at a local business. And that is a really great opportunity to partner with a like-minded business. Find somebody that has a similar demographic to who you are selling, that you have complementary businesses where there's kind of a natural overlap with the kinds of customers that you serve. So I take flowers to a boutique in town, and it's great because it's a win-win for everybody. I get a convenient location for my subscription to be picked up from, and the other business gets dependable foot traffic that is going to stop into their shop every single week. Lots of people will do it at coffee shops, or if there's a distillery or a brewery or something like that where people frequent. I know of other farms that have made really great connections to places like that. So my biggest takeaway for a flower specific CSA is there's so many different ways that you can structure it so that it works for you and it makes your job easier, because the easier your job is, the better product you're going to be able to deliver to your customers, and the happier your customers are ultimately going to be. I think that's all I have for now. And if you have any questions, save them until the end and we can chat more.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I think Sharon is back with us. So we're going to go back to the start and let Sharon do her presentation for us.
Okay, who can sympathize with having bad internet in the country? Because man, it always goes out. It's been perfect all morning and then it just went out, of course. So back to what I was talking about. We have a beef, pork, chicken, Cornish hen CSA. We do 3 drop locations. We do not do delivery because our customers are so spread out. It would be too cost prohibitive gas wise, especially now, and time wise. I mean, as farmers, you all know, time is money. Time is very precious. So we just do 3 drop locations. It's the same 3 locations every season at the same time, every single time. So we stop in one place from 10 to 11. And if you make it, you make it. If you don't make it, we wait a little bit and then we move on. We'll contact you, and it's up to you to figure out how you want to get your meat. Either, we can meet up someplace, you can come to the farm, or we can just add it on to the next month. We do offer add-on products. We try to partner with other local farmers to provide their products. We did microgreens for a while. I'm still looking for a new microgreen provider. We sell a goat cheese share from a local farm. You can add on extra ground beef. We did quail eggs for a while. We have chicken eggs available. We have a local vineyard that we partnered with, and we do a wine of the month club where you can get a bottle of wine that's local. And then we also have a spice blend vendor who is also a member of our CSA, and her products, of course, match really great with meats because they're spices, but they're also the type of product that we support. They are gluten-free, no MSG, no preservatives, all natural. So that goes along with what the products are that we sell. We only do one delivery day a month. We felt like trying to do bi-weekly got too confusing for our customers. Trying to do twice a month and say, okay, the first and the third Saturday, it was too overwhelming for our customers. So we do one Saturday. It's the third Saturday of every month. We emphasize that every single time I put out any marketing. I always emphasize third Saturday of the month, this location, this time. And what we have seen is that we have customers who have been part of our CSA for, let's see, this is now going to be, I think, our 5th season. We do 2 seasons a year. And we have had customers that have stayed with us the entire time. We have customers who drop off because they move, or it's too much meat or whatever. But we've seen an evolution of the type of customers that we have. We started out with much larger numbers at one of our locations because it was closer to the city. And that demographic of the people living there are more affluent. They're better able to afford our products, and they are more likely to be interested in sustainable farming and buying local. What we have seen is over time is a shift. And now most of our customers, I would say 2/3 of our customers, are here local and come pick up from the farm, which is great for us. We love the fact that we have so many local people that we're feeding. So, and we've changed our products from when we began to where we are now. We didn't offer pork in the beginning. Now we do. We started out with just a small pork share, and then now we offer a small and a large. We're getting ready to offer a cut chicken share as opposed to just whole chickens. So if you want to go to the next slide. So it's great to see that the CSA is evolving. So when you're thinking about creating any type of a CSA, but a meat CSA in particular, you need to really sit down and you have to look at your numbers, you have to look at your systems, and you have to look at what works best for you. Like I said, once a month works best for us. I know somebody who does a weekly chicken share, and they offer chicken eggs and whole chickens, and that works really well for them, and their customers are used to that. So you want to figure out, okay, what products can I offer? In the beginning, we didn't have enough pork to offer a pork share. Now we've got piglets coming out our ears, and it's great, and we can offer a pork share. So as we see where interests are, we're looking and evaluating what products we can offer and how can we change what we offer. For example, we have a beef share, and where you just get beef in your box, but okay, not everybody wants just 2 pounds of ground beef. Some people want more. Now, because you're a CSA and that meat is set aside for you. So that's, you've got to look at what you have and what you can offer. And there's a big debate between what's better for the consumers. Do you want farmer's choice, where you choose what goes in the box, which is what we do, or customer choice? And with customer choice, customers have basically an allowance where they have, say, $100 a month, and they go onto your store and they say, I want 2 fillets and I want a whole chicken and 3 pounds of ground beef. And that's what I want in my box this month. That gives your customers a real idea of what the value of your meat is, but it leaves you open to making sure that you have your inventory impeccably up to date, and that you are pulling and checking all of your inventory as you're creating those orders. With Farmer's Choice, we go through and we say, listen, this is kind of like Iron Chef or oh, what's the other one where they get a box of ingredients, and you never know what you're going to get. And we're going to help you learn how to use all these cuts. And you may never have heard of this cut before, but now you have an opportunity to use it and figure out what it is and expand your horizons. So we do the farmer's choice. That helps us move inventory. One time we had a lot of ossobuco, which is the shin bone with meat around it. And we moved that, and then we educated our customers on how to use it. You need to figure out who is your perfect customer. If you have not gone onto My Digital Farmer, Corinna Bench does an excellent job of helping you figure out who your perfect customer is, what your demographic is, what they want to buy, how you meet those needs. That's where that's where you can go for that. What's your frequency going to be? How many payments are you going to take in full? Are you going to take payment programs? What software management? And then what your financial goal is. We can go on to the next one. Your financial goal is how much money you want to be making. So when you're looking at your inventory, how much can you produce? We're limited with livestock and how long it takes for them to grow. What's your price point going to be? Is it affordable? Is it profitable? How many pounds are you going to give your customer? Are you going to base it on pounds? I already talked a little bit about the farmer versus the customer pros and cons, and then your packaging. How are you going to actually hand this to your customers? Are you going to give them the meat and they put it in their cooler, or are you going to give it to them in a bag or in a box? We can go on to the next one. So your logistics, are you going to do drop spots? Is it going to be drop and go where you leave it at a restaurant or a business and they come pick it up? Are they going to meet you? Are you going to have volunteer homes where you drop off your meat and the homeowner, that person in your CSA, is responsible for making sure everybody picks up? That can be a little bit tricky. We talked about home delivery. Your record keeping, I keep track of every single item that I give out to every single customer and how much they get. And then the day of delivery, I could do a whole series on that, but I'm out of time. So if we could just go real quick to the next one. Marketing is a big deal. The biggest thing I can say, be genuine, be transparent, and build relationships with your customers. Go to the next one real quick. These are just some slides with some of the creative ways that we've advertised it. And then the next one. And then this is information on how to get hold of me. I'm happy to answer any questions. And we're going to be starting a CSA training group online. If you want to get information on that, sign up for the email list. The crazy link is there. I'm sorry I went over. I'm sorry I got disconnected. I could talk about this for hours, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And yes, there will definitely be plenty of time for a conversation after the presentations. Aaron, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Aaron Seckler. I live up in Homer, Alaska. I operate a business that is a CSF, a community supported fishery called Citizen Salmon Alaska. And we can, yep, there we go. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what a CSF is and what that means in relation to a CSA. All of us are familiar with CSA, community supported agriculture. Community supported fishery is supporting our community fishermen that live in our rural area. We're at the end of the road in Alaska, as a lot of fisheries are in Alaska. And these local fishermen are stewards of the environment. They're here to protect our waters, they fish our waters, they create their income from our waters, and we're here to support them in that fashion and make the connection from the water here to the home kitchen in the lower 48 with regards to CSAs. I got to move something here. I can't see. So fishermen are benefiting from a higher dock price in our scenario. That's the connection that they have with us. They also love that they can kind of follow the story of where their fish is going. In a lot of regards, their fish in our fisheries, there's such an abundance of it that it's the larger companies that are really handling that. To have a smaller niche like what we have with the CSF is definitely unique, and definitely on the rise. We've seen a lot more people starting to do it. We'll see fishermen that are directly marketing their own fish. And we just can't be more excited for what's going on with the fishing industry right now. It's you know, sustainability and responsibility are questions that are brought up often, and we're starting to have more answers for that. Alaska has some of the best management in the world. A lot of our rules, regulations, laws, the way we produce our fisheries, those models are taken throughout the world and used in other areas because we're doing such a good job up here. Can we go to the next slide? So why would a CSA partner with a CSF? For the same reason that the fishermen partner with the CSF. There's a larger companies and smaller companies. The smaller companies are able to get a better product in front of our CSAs. CSA wants to know exactly where their food is coming from. That's the idea, is having that local connection. And we being in Alaska, we're definitely perceived because of distance that we're not as local, but we're trying to make that connection to where we're showing you our local fisheries. We're introducing you to the fishermen, to the type of gear that they're using, to the type of seafood available, from salmon to halibut to scallops, shrimp. I mean, pretty much anything you go to the grocery store is coming out of Alaska, and 95% of the salmon that's eaten in that is wild anyway in the United States is from Alaska. So people are aware of it. We just don't know how to make that connection, and that's what the CSF is here to help with. Another reason to team up with a CSA is, or a CSF rather, is to add a little bit of financial boost to the farm. I operate on a level where each farm we come to an agreement, and within that agreement there are percentages for net profit sharing. We're able to give customer discounts directly to the customers. They can enter right on the website. What's great for me and for CSF that might do that as well is it's a way for us to track kind of who's buying what from which farms. So if I had a farm that was, you know, we'll use Corinna's shared legacy, it would be shared legacy 22 for this year. So then every order that comes through, we have that kind of connection to that and we can track it. You're attracting more customers because you're offering something different. You know, a lot of the reasons we're starting to add meat to your CSAs is because people want more. They want that connection. And if you're kind of one-stop shop that has that connection for them, that can bridge that gap, so to speak, it makes it more attractive for your customers to do business with you. You're kind of filling a void, so to speak. Partnering with CSA will give you local availability from an outside resource. What that means is I'm the local guy in Alaska. I'm the person that is responsible for the fish, the distribution, the fulfillment, any questions that come up from customers. You know, we'll send recipes out with that, create packages that have spices, cookbooks, so on and so forth. So we can go on to the next slide. And how are you going to partner with a CSF? That can be challenging, especially in the lower 48, because even as a farmer, you know, you have the idea that, yeah, that'd be really great, but I don't know anything about it. So reach out, talk to folks, go online. There's lots of resources as far as what each company does, how they set up their business. I am kind of a on-demand type business where you can pre-order before the season starts. And then throughout the season, there's different offerings as different openers happen for different fish. Other companies that are out there also have subscriptions. So each month, just like a CSA, you would get a subscription of, say, 4.5 pounds of salmon and 1 pound of halibut, 1 pound of cod. And then each month you're getting a different box. We like ours on demand a little bit better because people can choose exactly what they want and it's delivered directly to their home. Various options for getting that discussion started would be simple as calling the company, vetting their website, getting a discussion going as far as an email, and just seeing if it's a good fit for your farm. What do they offer? What's their packaging like? What's their portions like? What does the fish taste like? I've never had halibut before from a CSA. Can we send samples out? We as Citizens Sam Alaska, we definitely want you guys to have samples because they're proof is in the pudding, so to speak. For you to be able to cook at home and show your recipes, share your recipes, not only does that show that you're enjoying the food, you're also showing how it's coming, how it's delivered, the condition it's in, how it stays in the freezer. You're creating content for yourself through Facebook, for emails, and so on and so forth. And you know, Citizen Salmon works in kind of 3 different delivery type options. One is the doorstep delivery, which is the most common. That would just go straight to the house. Your CSA members would order online per se. Hi, Matilda's up. And then the second would be bulk distribution. That's where the farmer himself wants to take the fish and have it come to the farm and self-distribute from themselves. Things you're going to want to consider if you're doing that is licensing it within your state. Can you legally do that with the setup that you have? Are you licensed? I know. Hi, Matilda. Hi. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with the group orders. Group orders would be your members connecting with other members from your farm and creating a larger order so they can get the biggest discount they possibly can. That is a really great option for a lot of farms, a lot of folks. What it does is it basically gives you the wholesale price that I'm able to offer. From there, I mean, I think we could go to the final slide and kind of wrap it up. If you want to contact me, this is our contact at Citizen Salmon Alaska up in Homer, Alaska. I'm the only employee. I'm the sole proprietor. So you're always going to be, if you're calling, if you're emailing me, I'm going to be the guy responding. So any forms of communication are more than welcome, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I want to thank the CSA Innovation Network for inviting me for this. This is a great opportunity for somebody so far away to kind of give their 2 cents. Additionally, this is my first time having this type of meeting, so sorry if I stumbled through it a little bit. I hope I didn't ramble too hard for everybody. And I'd like to thank you again. Thanks, Corinna, for giving me a chance last year and letting me show you what we're all about and the great things we've done since then. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Aaron. And you did a great job. That was a stellar presentation for your very first time. Nice work. Hallie, you are up.
Awesome. I'm going to leave my video off because it is very windy up on our ridge and our internet is iffy as well. So I'm Hallie Wapking of Meadowlark Organics and Meadowlark Community Mill in Ridgeway, Wisconsin. We're in the Southwest Driftless region and about 45 minutes west of Madison. Go to the next slide. So grain and flour is definitely kind of the last thing to get on the farm to table movement. But it's definitely happening all over the states and the world. But we are a vertically integrated value-added farm. So we grow the grain, we mill the grain, and we distribute it. We also, important to our business model, is being able to purchase grain from other area regional farmers, because we really want to offer the economic opportunity to others to diversify so that it's not just row crops planted fence row to fence row. So you can go to the next slide. I started what we call grain shares, our grain-based CSA. Basically at the beginning of COVID, we had historically, we had been selling our grain mostly to a flour mill, and they were selling it under their label. We ended up getting a value-added producers grant, which helped us to build out our brand and make more connections directly to consumers and wholesale bakers. And I was selling a little bit at some local farmers markets, but our online sales up to February of 2020 were in like the hundreds of dollar range a month, basically. And then by April, we were selling almost $20,000 a month online. So it got outrageous really quickly. We didn't have like the infrastructure, the systems or anything in place. And I was also seeing that a ton of people were buying like way more grain and flour than they would go through in a reasonable period of time. And we stone mill all of our flour, so it is more perishable than what you would get typically off of a grocery store shelf. So it's important to use it within 6 months. And I was just feeling like people were really freaking out because they couldn't find flour on grocery store shelves. And so we obviously, as a vertically integrated farm, we have a pretty insulated supply chain. And I wanted to illustrate that, to let people know that we weren't going anywhere, that we weren't going to run out of flour. And we also had such a surge in new customers that I wanted to find a way to hang on to some of those. So when I launched this in April of 2020, we had around 65 people sign up. And then since then, it's kind of peaked at around 130 and now has leveled off around like 80 to 90 shares that we ship out a month. So next slide. We're very unique, obviously, in that we're a grain farm and a flour mill. We have lots of ways that we sell our grain and our flour, but grain shares has been a real anchor for us, especially for our online sales throughout the time that it's existed. But we have found in the research that I've done, obviously having the right platform for your CSA, whether it's cut flours or milled flours, you need the right platform. And for us, that was definitely Squarespace. It also conveniently was where our online store was already housed, but it has a really flexible subscription service. You can say how often your order will process, you can reschedule order dates, etc. We're really dependent on basically exporting our orders to see how many grain shares we need to fill each month. So that paired with just Google Sheets has really kind of done it for us. The way that we have designed them is I basically created 4 tiers because I really wanted to provide flexibility to people. And I was also hoping to provide opportunities to include new products. So we have the quote unquote, I don't bake share, which has about 7 pounds of grain. And then we have the Grainiac, which is about 25 pounds of grain. And then we have an everyday baker and a bread baker share as well. So lots of options for people. People can choose to have it on a monthly basis, a bi-monthly basis, and we're also happy to accommodate like rescheduling if people take time off, they're not baking as much in the summer or whatever. So it's pretty flexible in that way. I think, originally the goal was really to kind of, like I said, retain customers. I was also hoping to streamline production because we were getting hundreds of orders and they were all random assortments of things. So this kind of helps to say, okay, we've got 40 of this box going out, we've got 30 of this box, etc. So that helped us. But it does take a significant amount of time every month. It takes about 20 hours or so, and that's split between several employees. So, but it's always something to consider, I think maybe it ends up being a wash as far as time saving, but it certainly helped in the customer retention. So we've tried to do some things like Facebook groups, and we'll hopefully do in-person meetings over the summer and stuff, because a lot of our folks are local. But it's nice. It's a nice way for us to have a direct relationship with so many customers, especially because we hadn't been doing farmers markets the last few years. So I'm happy to discuss more of the nuts and bolts of this if anybody is interested. I did not put my contact info on here, but you can Google us, or I'm sure it's in this presentation somewhere. So thank you. So yeah, that's just what it looks like on our website. We've got lots of options.
Wonderful diversity. That's really exciting. You're piquing my interest. Thank you so much, Hallie, for presenting about your grain CSA. So audience, now is the time if you had any burning questions that came up during everybody's presentation, feel welcome to turn your video on and unmute yourself and ask away. We've got about 7 to 10 minutes or so of question and answer time.
I have a question for Meadowlark Farms. Do you have a time they have to buy by? Like most CSAs are like, you buy like, they usually do like the first 3 months, although, everybody's kind of adjusting that model. But do you have like a specific time frame they have to buy by, or do you allow memberships to roll over?
Yeah, so it's on a monthly basis. So we say, we have a cutoff date of the 5th of each month, and then they'll get it around the 15th. It kind of depends on where the third Thursday lands. But
Okay.
So we have definitely like a rolling basis. People come, they go. It's pretty flexible.
Thank you.
Sharon, there was a question that came up prior to the presentation about partnerships and how you go about developing partnerships with other food entities that are not your farm. And it sounds like you do that with your CSA. Could you talk a little bit about that process and what that looks like for you and how you initiate those relationships?
Sure, not a problem. As a matter of fact, on Saturday, in between our CSA drops, we stopped at a local farmers market and just to see what was there, and met a guy who does microgreens and got his information. And I asked him, I said, do you do wholesale? Would you be interested? This is how we do it. This is how many customers we have. We found this percentage of people would be interested. And so we're going to have a call this week to talk about it. I mean, it's just that simple. It really is easy. We do require that they have their own liability insurance and that they add us to it, add a rider for that, and that we have proof of it. That's really our biggest requirement. And, then you have to look at the things that are important to you. For us, is it organic or non-GMO? I don't care if it's certified organic or not, but I need to know what your farming practices are and what your goals are, and make sure that that aligns with us. I don't want to end up selling a product that goes against what our values are for our farm. So it's just a matter of just going and finding people.
So for the partnerships, I'm very curious about that because I've been looking into like cooperatives and trying to figure out the difference, like for I don't know, legalities. I mean, I know there's like probably a few differences state to state, but does anybody have any advice on that? I was thinking maybe the Salmon Alaska guy might have some info on that, because he was talking about net profit sharing.
So I'm not sure I understand the question.
Do you work with like cooperatives? Does anyone do any of the speakers know anything?
I work with a cooperative.
You work at a cooperative?
Yeah, so I work with
with a cooperative.
What's that?
You work with a cooperative or at a cooperative?
With a cooperative. So I
Okay.
sell some of my product through a cooperative. So there's the Michigan Flour Growers Cooperative here, which is a group of, there's probably about, I think there's maybe 20 active growers here in Southeastern Michigan this season. So, and you know, co-ops vary widely across the country. And you're right, there's a lot of specific state requirements within and how they're set up and how they operate. But just briefly, very high level, how ours functions is we all get a 1099 from the co-op, and that's like how sales are conducted. All the sales go through the co-op. We are paid from the co-op, and then we get a 1099 at the end of the year for our portion of the sales. But again, it really, I hate to say anything further, because cooperatives, there's a whole lot more nuance in there depending on what organization it is.
Yeah, but I mean, like, honestly, even that gives me it files it in the right spot in my head, because I've been looking at the tax stuff too, and
that's a big piece of it. That's a big piece of it for sure.
Yeah, I haven't actually opened my CSA yet. I'm trying to cover all the bases first.
Good place for you to come then and get some information. Adrian, there's another question for you just dropped in the chat about how many shares that you manage and what about a typical price for a share would be, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if we can share, we should share a link to my, just to my website. I do e-commerce through Squarespace, and it has worked fantastic for me. Price per share. So each of my subscriptions is a 4-week subscription, and I price it out per bouquet. And so so each subscription is 4 bouquets. And I think each bouquet, it depends, because spring flowers, everybody loves, and my spring subscription sells out first, hands down, every year. I think I have like 1 spot left in it. And I think I priced, it might be like $28 a bouquet. And it varies a little bit. They're all kind of in there. I try to hit like a $25 to $30 bouquet per, for each subscription. Total subscriptions that I manage, I will probably be at about 90 this year. And that I cut it off within each of my 4 sections. I probably cut it off around 30 bouquets per, again, because this is only about 10% of my business. So I need to make sure that I still have enough flowers to fill all of my florist's orders for the week. So I cut it off at a point that is sustainable for me to manage. That said, it has really grown, and I do crop plan specifically for the subscription, so that I know that I will have enough to fulfill those orders in addition to my wholesale.
Makes sense. Thank you. Erin, this question is for you. There's one that came up pre-presentation about the logistics of shipping frozen items. And I'm assuming, given what you're doing, some of that is probably frozen. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Everything I ship is frozen. I do not ship a fresh product. The logistics is just, it's too far. I ship through FedEx in insulated boxes with gel packs. This year, we're going to experiment with some dry ice as well. I finally found a source. Alaska is pretty big, so it's sometimes it's hard to source the resources you need because of the logistics of it. But yes, I think as far as logistically is concerned, I use a FedEx overnight rate, and all the shipping is included in the price. So if you were to say go to my website in particular, which is actually different than most companies that are out there, you go to the website and you order your fish, and then you get into checkout, and all of a sudden you have a huge shipping fee on top of what you've already thought was your cost. With mine, I've built everything right into the cost, so the front end user sees a number when they're searching through the website. When they go through checkout, it's the exact same number. It doesn't change. And I take care of all the guarantee side of it. So if something were to happen to the package, I will replace that package. I've pretty much, I don't ask questions. I mean, I'll ask a couple small, simple questions, but I can see by tracking that the package was a day late, that typically is going to be okay, but there is also thawing that can occur. The summertime is challenging because, you know, different regions have some pretty extreme temperatures, and not all the time. Matilda wants to get involved. She's saying hi. And does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that touches on.
Was this this was an outside question?
Yeah, this was an outside
Gotcha.
question. So if that person who asked that question is on the call and wants additional clarification, please feel free to chime in.
All right, I see a question here that I could answer, probably because everybody's probably wondering this. It says, how does the CSF fish price stack up to what a customer might use for salmon in the grocery store? It's going to be a little bit more expensive because of the shipping. The quality itself is going to be unsurpassed. What you find in the grocery store is typically frozen and rethawed. If it's coming in fresh, if you see the word fresh in your refrigerator case at the grocery store for salmon, think of how long it took to get there. It could be 3 days, could be 2 days. So by supporting a community supported fishery, you know the time life or the life cycle of that fish and the timeline beyond just taking your chances at the grocery store. I mean, I'm going to give you an example of a grocery store in Minnesota. Minnesota's laws say that a fresh product flown in from Alaska can be in the refrigerated case for 14 days. So when I've ever proposed the question to somebody, would you go fishing for, say, a bass or a walleye and put that in your refrigerator for 14 days and then eat it? And the answer is unequivocally 100%, 1000% no. So it will be a little bit higher. The best way to get closest to what you're going to spend in the grocery store is getting it that 50-pound order, whether that's you eat 50 pounds a year as a family of 4 or 6 or whatever it is, which is pretty average. I mean, if you broke it down by the week. Sorry, distractions. Or by, you know, creating these group buys where you can get 3 or 4 members that are like-minded, they want in on salmon, but they would prefer to get a group box. I can distribute it myself with these other members. They can come to my house, so on and so forth. Therefore, you're getting as close as I can get you to a grocery store price, and it's basically the wholesale price. So if I was selling to, say, a meat market, it's not always just to consumers with me. I'm also breaking into butchers and meat markets that want to get, say, 1,000 pounds and do their own smoking and whatnot. Well, those are opportunities for them to get closer to a wholesale price, which is in itself closer to a retail price of a grocery store.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that question, Aaron. We are at time for today, and I want to be mindful of everyone's busy schedule. So just want to remind you that this session was recorded. A lot of different resources that are also available on the CSA Innovation Network website in the resource library. So if you haven't visited that or checked it out, I highly recommend perusing through those resources, especially those of you who are newer to CSA. You'll find a lot of great tips in that space. It looks like some people are putting their contact information in the chat. I think that'll also be sent out with the slides as well. So if you have any additional follow-up questions for the presenters today, I think you can reach out to them. With that, thank you everyone so much for spending some time this afternoon. Thank you to our speakers for sharing your wisdom and best practices with us. I learned a lot, and I'm really excited to maybe order some fish and some grain. Those are new things for me. So thank you all for sharing your time with us this afternoon. Appreciate it.